On this episode of That Kingsville Podcast, well, you know, some property in town is going to get for sale soon. KDHS, KPS, and Jack Minor Public School.
Oh, I thought maybe there's a new house.
I don't know. Anybody selling? It seems to be the thing these days. But big meeting, town of Kingsville, a public input session held at the Grovedale. And also we have very special guest, Nancy Armstrong, retired teacher from Jack Minor and current Greater Essex County District School Board trustee, joins us on the show today to talk about a bunch of things that happened earlier this year. Something about a school and names and whatnot. She comes to talk to us about her experiences and some thoughts, and asks a lot of very intelligent questions. So all that and more on this episode of That Kingsville Podcast. That Kingsville Podcast proudly brought to you by Kingsville Brewery, kingsvilleBrewery.ca. Free delivery and are you drinking beer?
That's my I need a beer.
I usually go with, but yeah, free delivery in Windsor, Essex County. Go to the website, kingsvillebrewery.ca. Order yourself up some Czech lager, a little Hefeweizen, maybe some cerveza. All that and more. Check out the website, kingsvillebrewery.ca. Thank you, Kingsville Brewery, for supporting That Kingsville Podcast. Hey, welcome to That Kingsville Podcast. I'm your host, Dave. That's Kevin. That's Steve.
What's up?
Gentlemen, midsummer. We're in the swing. What's up?
It's been a while.
It's
been a few weeks.
Yeah, summertime.
Some vacation.
Schedules, exactly. Schedules, things kind of slow down. You got.
I just generally slow down, like in my movements.
Yeah. Oh, it's hot, right?
Oh,
You sweat.
today's punishing.
Yeah, well, that's that thing called the sun that's out there in the atmosphere and the solar system. It just kind of concentrates its focus on a region for a little while, and then we all die.
Logical, Dave.
Yeah,
Yeah.
weatherman.
Astrophysicist Dave.
Hey, Kev, how's traffic and weather? On the twos.
Highway 3 is looking good right now. Traffic heading up to...
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. Highway 3 is...
It's a good job I start
You
working.
can tell why I don't work there.
Yeah. Radio career gone. Yeah, no, Highway 3's extension or expansion going quickly, I will say.
Oh, they're doing fantastic work.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, they're so...
certain times a day.
Well, it's not just that. It's how people are driving through it. And I don't... There was the OPP Facebook group caught somebody doing like 170 kilometers an hour or something ridiculous like that a couple of weeks ago.
I didn't think they caught me. No, just kidding. Just kidding. Wasn't me. Would never be me.
Well, no, they got him on radar, and I think it was a motorcycle, but just you see, there's construction. Those are people. Those are lives.
Yeah.
You can slow down. I would avoid the area, much like in Kingsville, Main Street, which nobody knows what a no left turn sign is.
Oh, they do. They just blatantly disregard
Ignore
it.
them.
Yeah, they don't care. Just do
It's
not
their
care.
right to make a left-hand turn.
Honk, honk.
Oh, no, I wasn't even intended. Oh, no!
It was a good pun.
That
It was a good pun.
fair. I didn't
It was a good
deserve
pun.
that one.
But that project is also going quite rapidly. I'm
Like
surprised
some
to
of the
see.
drivers.
Yeah.
Stop it. You're just really going to pile on, aren't you?
Oh, no.
But
I'm just digging for it.
there are some things that are happening in Kingsville, though. Like this past week, town of Kingsville had an information session about what should we do, or what should the municipality do, what should the town do regarding the school properties that are going to be surplus. So that's
Right.
Jack Minor, Kingsville Public, and Kingsville District High School. As we know, there's a big school that got built somewhere on Jasperson, and those other three schools are possibly not going to be used in the future. At least two of the three probably won't. So
One of them could store desks, students. We'll see what they could store inside those walls.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever needs be.
Whatever. Animate or living things. They can stuff inside there.
It's
We'll see.
It's plausible.
We'll see.
The municipality and administration held a information gathering meeting at the Grovedale. About 100 people attended. I was there. Gary was there as well. Yay!
So 98 plus you.
That quick math is working.
Awesome.
in my opinion, and Gary, I don't know, you can speak up or if you're on the board or not. I think the presentation was great. I think the way that the administration presented the information was exactly what the state was at this current disposition, right? The board has not put the schools up for sale yet. A few years ago, there was allocation in the budget and there was some reserves that were set aside to make investment in properties if the town decided that was, or if council decided that was what they wanted to do. Now, with the new school being built and these properties possibly coming up in the near future as surplus, they want to be prepared to make a reaction if they need to. Difference between what used to happen and what happens now is back only a handful of years ago, I think it was just last year, there was still the availability for the municipality to have first right of refusal.
Yeah.
Years ago, it used to be that the municipality could buy the properties for $1 because they were paid.
Well, it had to go to the coterminous boards first.
Right. So there was...
And then the municipality. So,
but there wasn't the red tape. Like it was, if the municipality decided that they wanted to purchase these properties, there was an avenue in order to do so. And what Kingsville administration did was presented what the situation was currently. That isn't the case anymore. That the mandate is from the Ministry of Education that the properties would be put up for fair market sale. And there are only a couple of small stipulations that might sway the ministry or the board to consider the municipality first if the properties were inclusive. And actually, I'm going to take a step back. Anyone who presents these couple of things. So if the potential purchaser wants to use the properties for long-term care housing or affordable housing, that's given preference in the terms of sale. So the information gathering session was held in order to find out what the community's thoughts were. Should we not buy 1, 2, 3 of these properties, and what would that possibly entail? So again, lots of information that was provided. The Have Your Say Kingsville.ca website is live now as we're recording here with input and information gathering, considering what this meeting was and going forward. So the information that was presented is available there. There's a PowerPoint presentation and some more other supplementary information, and then a forum to provide your input, which I would encourage everyone. If you're actually considering or you're sensitive to what happens with these properties or potential properties, provide your input.
Yeah.
There's definitely some logic there. I don't know. Did the town present any of their ideas as to what they would use the property for if they were to purchase them?
No.
Okay.
They presented multiple scenarios where they could purchase to hold, purchase to flip, purchase to use as future development. Okay. But we're not purchase. Yeah.
Right.
Like completely.
Right. Always an option.
Right. So
because I know it had been rumored that the current site of the high school could be a town hall facility.
Correct. Yeah.
And there's a lot of logic there. Mm-hmm. And I do see a lot of logic.
It's a terrible idea, but
we could debate that.
I had another episode. Once actually, this is a good primer for a future episode, right?
Right.
We're gonna talk with Nancy and talk about the new school and the cluster of what happened through that process. But another episode, let's find out what the details are around what would the purchase price be and what impacts could that have to our tax impacts, to other identified projects the town has outlined. Again, the facility improvements and repair that was identified as a $12 million bill, if I remember correctly, like to repair and fix. I don't know. It was months ago, right? What would it do if we invested in those properties of Kingsville Public and Kingsville High School? What's the pros? What's the cons?
Yeah,
so on and so forth. So I have to hand it to the administration. They did a very good job. The downside was the public was provided the ability to ask a lot of questions. And it appeared that there was a lot of repeat questions because a lot of people were, I don't know, Gary, I think some people were trying to get the administration in a gotcha moment, right? Like try
around what topic?
Anything. Anything. Like, I tuned out after a while because it was just like, these aren't relevant at this state. Like, the administration is purely just asking, do you think that this is something that we should invest in or not? Not what should we do with them? Not, blah, blah, blah. It's until we find out what the price of admission is, or the cost or the potential market value is that the Board of Education puts on them. It's a moot point.
Yeah.
Right? Really, it is, because we have no idea.
And you really can't come up with a development plan for a piece of property if you don't know what the general public in Kingsville is willing to accept as a tax increase.
Right. The Board of Education has not released any reports regarding the current condition of the buildings. So we don't know what impacts would be if there was a demolition required. We have estimates, like Tim Del Greco provided some best guesses based upon other projects that had happened over the last couple of years, which great. Hey, here's some spitball numbers. He admitted so, right? Here's the comparable prices that the town of Leamington purchased LDSS. And which school was it?
Mill Street.
Mill Street School. And then was it Amherstburg that just got sold? Yeah. And here's the price that they paid for that. And this could be the potential cost for purchasing Kingsville High School, but we don't know yet.
Well, and I think it's also important to remember the financial situation of the public board at the moment,
right?
Because they're the sellers. They have a $6 million deficit in their budget. And a nice way to be able to make some of that back would be to be able to get top dollar. Mm-hmm. So I think any resident that is thinking the town's able to go into this and play on goodwill to be able to get, a cheaper rate because they're the town. You got to remember that those trustees and that administration is faced with a deficit in their own budget.
Yeah. It's if anything, I think that you can plead to the ministry and maybe with a well thought out plan, possibly get some sort of leniency. But who knows? That's
Good luck.
Right. That's not written in stone.
Because the moment that they give it to you,
they got to give it to everybody else.
Because it's happening across the province.
Right. And right. Exactly. The problem we face is a lot of those properties are in larger municipal areas that don't have as great a visible impact as these two properties do in the town of Kingsville because of the proximity and of each other and where they are geographically. So
I know we don't want to get into the nuts and bolts of it, but the high school property, I think you can argue whether or not it's as necessary as like whether or not it is necessary to purchase. But KPS, that's a huge piece of property in the middle of your downtown core, and not being able to determine what the development on that piece of property, I think, would be a very difficult situation for a town to be in.
I would agree. However, that's not the opinion of the presentation. The presentation was primarily focused on the high school. So it appears that high school is of preference, KPS being secondary or additional in addition to, and Jack Minor being tertiary or, kick it in.
I find that fascinating because I would think that like the
I thought we were going to debate this at a future episode.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, honestly, and you're right. And I think Gary already made that decision because the camera that's pointed at me has a lens cap on it. So I think he's already decided that, we're not going to bother listening to what Kevin has to say anyway.
It's okay. No, but it is, honestly, and I think that discussion would be better suited once the picture or the understanding of whatever it's going to cost is, because then we can formulate arguments and have cited impact and whatnot based upon factual value, right? It's just hypothetical at this point.
Yeah. Right.
Who knows? They might not declare them surplus and retail them for months, years, right? It's the school board. But again, at the public input, and Gary, again, the only downside was the repetitious questions that some of the public was peppering administration. And again, I felt that there was some gotcha questions there trying to get some expose, and that's not the form, that's not the case. And I think, I unfortunately had to leave a little bit early. I don't know how long the whole meeting went. It's available on the Have Your Say. It's still happening. Yeah. We're to our 433rd hour. But it's available online. You can go watch it.
Much coffee.
They had Timbits and coffee available.
All the muffins.
So yeah, I would encourage anyone who's listening, talk about this. If to people walking around, if anyone has feelings about what the town should do, they need to express their concern. And I'll paraphrase CAO John Norton, because he did bring up a very relevant point at some point in time through the presentation. And they're having this information session because they're not sure what the timetable is. They're not sure if they're going to have the availability to have extensive public consultation. So they're trying to garner as much public input as they can. And his statement was to the effect of, if you don't say anything and then a developer comes in and puts up something that you are in absolute opposition to and frustration with, and you complain and cry to the town about, why didn't you do anything? Why we don't need this kind of stuff. We have the opportunity to voice those opinions. Whether or not the council chooses to do that, that's a different issue. But you've been given an opportunity to voice your opinion in order to say, yes, these are things. And if there's a community or a bunch of local citizens that have a similar point of view, speak up. HaveYourSay.Kingsville.ca is the method that they're receiving. Email your counselors, right? Like, they all have email addresses. They all have mostly phones that you can reach. Social media, even, like, reach out, talk to them, let them know. This is going to happen. Right? It's inevitable unless the Board of Education needs all those facilities because new school won't open. But it's crazy. Anyway. Stranger things have happened. Let's, you know what? And on that, the school board trustees, we got a very special guest. So let's talk to Nancy. Joining us on That Kingsville Podcast, retired teacher from Jack Minor and current Greater Essex County District School Board trustee, Nancy Armstrong. Nancy, thanks for joining us on That Kingsville Podcast.
Thank you for having me here.
So we're going to talk the topic that I think a lot of people are still angry with, even though, some of your trustee colleagues may wish it would go away. We're going to get into talking school names again. And then we'll talk a little bit about some of the other items related to the school. We have a new school that, regardless of the name, is going to be opening soon, which is varying amounts of excitement. And then also maybe we'll also get into a little bit about the current property sales near the end. We'll talk a bit about that too, because the town had a meeting, and I know as a trustee you can't say much, but we'll ask you questions and you can yell at us and tell us that you can't say anything because it's a real estate transaction and you're not allowed, and that's in camera. And then we'll ask you, and then you'll say the same thing again, and we'll go through the process of how that will work. But we'll start off with the school name. And
well, first and foremost, Nancy, again, thank you for taking the time to come and speak with us. And you're coming to us tonight as Nancy Armstrong.
Yes, I am not in any way, shape, or form speaking for the board. I am tonight a private citizen, a retired teacher. I care about the kids. That's why I put my name forward to become elected in the first place, but I am not speaking for the board. We as trustees must uphold decisions by the board, but we can discuss our own views on it, and that is who I am today.
Great. So, and you've brought some literature with you to reference.
I brought.
So the OPSBA, the Ontario Public School Boards Association Guide to Good Governance.
Governance.
Sorry,
yeah, it's one of those words. It's one of those words.
So this is what we are to follow, and I'm going to be referencing that as we
please do
talk.
Kev.
So let's start at the beginning before the school naming issue came about. As someone who taught in the Kingsville family of schools for a long time, 25 years, how excited were you to see the project as it was coming along? Because I'm sure there had to be a point of pride in seeing the project coming together the way that it was.
Yes, for sure. When I was at Ruthven and Ruthven was slated for closure, we weren't excited at all. But after a year at Jack Miner, Jack Miner was home. So together, the staff became a family. And I don't know how many of the existing teachers were excited to move to a super school. I know I was never going to move to a super school because I taught in all the small schools in the county. I didn't want to go to a mega school. So I don't know how excited any of the staff are today about moving. I know I was never going to, not because of the structure, but because it's just a big place.
And you retired when?
2019.
So there had been discussions about the school being built at the time so did that school project play into your decision to run as a trustee at all?
No.
What were some of the reasons you wanted to become a trustee?
I'm not the only retired teacher or teacher who thinks, when I retire, I'm going to be a trustee. I threw my name in the ring, not expecting to win at all. And I will, if I can make a political plug here. I think the reason I got in was that my name started with A and my competitor was further on down in the alphabet. Or I asked somebody I'd never met, why did you vote for me? Oh, I liked your name. You had a good name. I thought, that's great. Thank you very much. But that's not the reason you should vote for a trustee. You need to know who they are and what they're all about. And so if people want to make a change, they better pay attention to trustees because who cares about trustees? I just voted for whomever, and I think an awful lot of people do. So we need to pay attention to our trustees. They are as important as any elected official. So why did I throw my name in? I didn't expect to win. I just thought years ago, when I retire, I'm going to see if I can serve the kids in the community at a different level. And to my surprise, I won. Seriously, when I got a text from someone, congratulations. And I texted back, what for?
Yeah.
I really didn't expect
Whoops.
Anyway.
So then you served as trustee and we're 2 years into the term? 3 years into the term?
Yeah,
2 years into the term. How was it before this?
We were getting along very well. I thought I deferred to all decisions to the seasoned trustees because I didn't know anything. I'm really lousy at Robert's Rules because it's totally foreign way of thinking, way of dealing with things. And in my short term as trustee, I will never become proficient. So unfortunately, I have lost opportunities to speak because they called Robert's Rules on me and I didn't know enough to say what I should have said. So, and that's not likely going to change because some of them have been really proficient at that way of running a meeting for decades. And I'm not going to be a trustee that long. So, but we got along very well because I deferred to their expertise. But this name was something that I had a strong opinion about. And so that's why since then it hasn't gone very well.
So before we get into the process of everything that happened, because we will, but I'd like to know, what do you think it should have been called?
I have never to this date been asked. You are the first person to ask me.
It's an exclusive.
Yep. Because, I'm not the only one who's never been asked. So when it was posted or discussed on media that 8 trustees found it wanting, the name wanting and stuff, I know of 4 trustees who were never asked. I was one of them. And I thought, wait a second, when do I get a chance to say? So I didn't realize that at the time that there had been a superintendent long ago who said Kingsville couldn't be in the name. I had a conversation with the chair that they didn't want King in the name, et cetera, et cetera. So looking at the process and how it unfolded, I don't think the committee was given enough information to be able to come up with a name because there was hidden information. I think Kingsville District School is a great name because it says where you are. And the reason I say that is a year ago, I'm sitting in the meetings and brand new trustee, didn't know anything, not familiar with Windsor schools at all because I'm from the county. And they're talking about Legacy Oak. And I can't remember another couple. And I thought, wow, I've never heard of that school before. I wonder where that is. And then they mentioned another one. Oh, I don't know where that is either. I've never heard of that one. But I kept my mouth shut because I thought, oh, well, I can go look it up when I get home. Now I understand that Legacy Oak, is that LaSalle?
Oh, wrong audience.
I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure. But
is there also now going to be an Oak Heights?
Sorry.
I don't know. But, at one board meeting, I said a couple of things. If you're going to plan on giving a name and review it every 5 years to make sure it's still politically correct, why can't we just save all that money, save all that time, and do it right the first time? I successfully graduated from Wortley Road Public School in London and Tecumseh Public School in London. Like, those are the names of the roads they were on. So why can't we just do that? Why do we have to have these fancy names that don't pinpoint a location? Because I still don't know. You saw where Legacy Oak is, but you didn't show me. I still don't know where it is.
No, I was just looking up you mentioned Oak Heights. It's actually Beacon Heights.
Yeah.
Beacon Heights.
Another name that's completely
right.
Could be anywhere.
Okay, so
I'm just wondering if we can back up just a minute.
Legacy Oak is in LaSalle.
Okay, so I got it right. But
thanks, Gary.
But if people are wanting a name that is a community name, and there is no other Kingsville school now, they're all closed. So that would have been my vote for Harrow to have closed. And I taught in Harrow. I started my teaching career in Harrow. I used to live in Harrow. My husband worked in Harrow. So Harrow is part of my fond memories as well. And it's really, really sad when a community loses a school, 100%. And businesses were lost. I totally get that. But when you have a population that is changing, good happens and not so good happens. But to constantly have it thrown out, or reminding that, all these schools closed and stuff, as I already said, when Ruthven closed, the first year was not fun at all. The second year was home. We got over it, And so is it not time to just get over it? Anyway, that's my personal feeling.
I just want to back up a little bit to the Roberts rules and the process. Having covered enough council meetings over the years, I've seen instances where a relatively new member of council, even a more seasoned member of council, may step out of line as far as the process. And at that moment, the mayor or the deputy mayor, whoever's chairing, will remind them of what the process is and allow them to correct.
You mean Gord Queen would remind them?
Gord, listen, Gord is well versed in Robert's
Thank you, Gord.
rules. But I'm looking at this and thinking, and these are my words, not yours, and you can either comment or decline comment if you wish. But why didn't any of the seasoned members turn around and say, okay, this is the process. This is how you need to do it. We will allow your question, but this is the way to do it. Because it almost seems akin to the schoolyard bully taking advantage of someone. Like, okay, we've got a newbie here. We can push this through because we know the rules, and she's a little bit naive still. I mean, did you feel that way? Am I maybe not?
No, were you there as a fly on the wall? When I was agreeing with everyone, then they would offer me that consideration. And I truly appreciate it. As I said, we got along really, really well until I had an opinion that did not follow. And that's when, I was bullied. And it's not happening again. So anyway, it's gone way downhill since February. And just before February, somebody asked me, I can't even remember what the date was. Somebody asked me, what are the trustees like? And honestly, I said, they're lovely people. Except you, Ron. I'm not saving the word lovely for you. But I seriously meant that. everybody was getting along, I thought. And we were working as a team, as a unit, but that is long gone. It's amazing how those, 5 months have changed things. So no longer a team spirit.
I'd like to kind of walk along the process chronologically, if it's okay. And I think, unless there's anything specific that you want to call out, I don't think we need to get into the naming committee aspect, because we've covered that fairly significantly on the podcast. But is there anything specific that you feel needs to be brought up around the actual naming committee? And then if not, then we'll move into when that report came to the board.
Well, I understand the naming committee was wrought with problems. So I wasn't there. It's all hearsay, but I've heard from enough people that it didn't go smoothly. Even, I think it was Kinsey Kendrick spoke at a board meeting saying they didn't even get the proper paperwork. So I don't really know what went on, but it was not a good experience, I guess.
Full disclosure and transparency, there's a member on the naming committee sitting to your left.
So it didn't go well.
There were instances where we were given information by one party representing the board, administration, and we questioned why, and we were given a stern answer as to why and what the rules or the examples were. So we're like, okay, we will move forward with this, and it pertained to the Word Academy. And I mean, and again, we have talked about this, but just so we were told by Scott Scandalberry that it had to be an academy. That was the board's mantra, if you will, going forward. And this was at the start of the first meeting. Towards the end of the second meeting, the chair of the naming committee, or the co-chair, informed us that no, it doesn't have to be an academy. So it was like the left, what's the term? The left hand doesn't know what the right, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
got it.
The board couldn't even come to, you've got a member of administration and a trustee who weren't on the same page. So you're left angry because you're being fed two different informations, but you're also left scratching your head like, what really goes on Park Street?
That's a big question, and I don't know what details you're looking for. What goes on?
No, that's not for you to answer. That's how we were kind of left. Those were there were several key points that left us scratching heads, but that was one of them. So this is your turn, Nancy.
You mentioned that you heard that there were issues on the committee. Had you heard that before the report came to the board?
No.
It was after the report came to the board that you had heard that then after that meeting that there were issues.
Before February 20th, I knew nothing. So I hadn't discussed with anybody anything. I knew I was kind of blindsided on February 20th. But Trustee Burgess called me in the morning of February 20th, and I realize now that a lot of decisions are made through phone calls from one trustee to another. So, okay, that's the way it is in the political world, for sure. But she called me the morning of to tell me about the name. But she didn't mention the name. She said only one person knew the name. And I said, well, I can't support you if I don't know what the name is. But she wouldn't tell me the name. So that's how we left it. I can't support it if I don't know what it is.
Now, and correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't Julia here recording the night before?
No, before the meeting.
Before the meeting. I think it was the night before the meeting.
Yeah.
And we had asked her if there was a name, and she said no. We were left after that discussion that there was potentially going to be some questions around the Kingsville name coming forward. It seemed like there was some changes, but
and I'll paraphrase and or misremember, but I think in camera in the meeting, it came to her as a flash, and that was what the name had to be. So when she formulated the name, right?
Yeah,
still unknown. Several different items of evidence.
Right. Okay. So sorry. So I cut you off now.
No, that's okay. I don't remember where it was.
So you got a phone call and the name, there was no name at that point that you were aware of.
Correct. And I hadn't even opened the board package for the evening meeting, so I couldn't have discussed any name because it was still sealed. After Julia hung up, I thought, I guess I should read the documents. Yeah. So I was fully expecting that we would talk about the two names that were presented, and then we'd talk about Julia's name. So when that didn't happen, I thought, okay, something is not right here. Then I found out later that 4 of us have never been asked or given the opportunity to discuss the names that came from the committee. And is that, I call that kind of censoring trustee input, isn't it? That we're, the quote was that the trustees found the names not what they wanted. Well, how do you know what I wanted? Because you never asked me.
So what name, to answer the question, what name did you prefer?
Well, it was Kingsville District School.
Yeah. District School. Yeah, so not Academy, District School.
Well, that's the one I wanted, yes. Sure. And that was not the one. Both of them on that form had Academy, but since then people have, since Academy doesn't have to be anymore, they changed their minds. So that's what I would vote for.
KDS.
Yep.
Academy was so 2023.
Yeah.
And you know the English language. Yeah. You should try it. Follow it.
Oi.
Mm-hmm.
So was there a meeting before the meeting?
Mm-hmm. And before I answer that question, no disrespect to the people from Harrow at all. I totally understand the closure of a school, the closure of a community, no disrespect intended. But all of the Harrow kids had been attending Kingsville School for 5 years?
Something like that.
And how were they doing? Were they okay? I never heard they weren't okay. Mm-hmm. So again, I have some contacts still in Harrow who didn't want Kingsville in the name, etc. And I understand. I totally do. It's a tough call. But as I said before, if it's in a location, it would be really nice to have that location because the kids are all going to say, well, when they're out and about, what school do you go to? Kingsville. Because people want to know where they're from. So that is my rationale. Anyway, what was your question? I can't remember.
What was there a meeting? Did the trustees meet before the meeting? And,
yes.
And did the naming come up?
Specific name did not come up. When I left that meeting, so I'm at home. Okay, because I had a cold and I didn't want to attend. And I thought, well, this is going to be a meeting I don't have to physically be there for because we're just going to vote on the school name and I know which one I'm going to vote for. So I didn't want to attend and risk spreading the cold around. So I'm at home. I am attending the in-camera meeting and there was nothing illegal that happened there in that the school name was not mentioned. But and I don't want to disclose what was said, but when I left that meeting or hung up the phone, I thought, wow, I'm going to vote for Julia's name because I don't like what I heard. So then when the public meeting came up, I'm listening to all of this, expecting that I would get to discuss the two names. And I kind of thought, okay, this is being hijacked. Because I don't get a chance to discuss it. So I'm at home listening to the meeting, and as the meeting is proceeding, and I realize that I'm never going to get a chance to talk about the names that I thought we were going to talk about, I received some texts from parents who had my phone number because I was friendly with a lot of my students' parents, and they all had my cell number. So I received a text from them questioning the validity of what was being said. And I thought, whoa, so something's going on here. I viewed the process, this is my word, I viewed the process as being hijacked. So apparently nothing illegal happened because it is within the policy that it can happen. But my husband had a really good way of saying it. He said, nothing illegal happened, but the process was morally and ethically bankrupt. And that's how I feel.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah. Because just because you legally can do something doesn't mean you should.
Yeah.
And so the fact that we never got a chance to discuss what the committee came up with, to me, is disrespectful, even though I know it was never meant to be, supposedly. That's what I read on social media. That's how it was perceived. And it is not right. So because I look at the mental health of kids, that the kids who put their heart and soul into that committee, and to have it just brushed off. No, I'm here for the kids.
So that meeting happens. How did you vote?
I was going to vote for Julia's name. I was 100% until I saw that. So I voted no. I'm sitting at home. I was the first one who voted no, because it's difficult doing it by phone. It really is. You don't, because there's no camera. I don't have the technology ability to view it, even if it's possible. I wouldn't know how to do it. So I'm pretty much just going by what's happening auditory. And I said, I will not support this name. So that, if I remember correctly, prompted the vote happening. So they already had my name. And I was so surprised that it went through. 100% surprised, because I had no one to read facial expressions or anything. And when it was done, I went, really?
Well, going back and
a lot of us did.
Yeah, going back and watching the video as a citizen and taxpayer and parent of a couple of students, it appeared that there was predisposition amongst the trustees that were in person, and some of the commentary that was made supporting this decision, seemed that there was already some sort of preamble ahead of time to prepare the reasoning why the two naming committee suggestions were cast aside, and this was put in place. But so I'm going to, sorry, Kevin, I know you're on a good train of thought. Please. And whatnot. The name itself, when it was divulged as Erie Migration Academy, there's vetting that is supposed to take place, and there's supposedly a process around making sure that there isn't any kind of unfortunate, other instances, right? Like, we don't want to name schools after people who've had some very checkered pasts. We want to make sure that it's of the proper naming convention. Was there any discussion whether or not that vetting had happened? No.
I can't remember if it happened during the meeting, but I think that was Tuesday. Thursday, my husband came in the door laughing, and he said, "Oh, it's on the radio. Eat my asparagus. Well, yeah, eat my asparagus school." And the DJ, whoever it was, was making fun of it. And I went, "What?" Because I'd never heard that before.
Nor had we.
No. Oh, okay.
This was new to us.
Right. But in transparency, my teenage daughters certainly knew what it was.
Right. And this is where we're at a point now in our lives where we're not up on all the lingo, and this was a surprise to us.
My son said, "Just check Urban Dictionary, Mom. It's like you would have used Webster."
Yeah.
Okay. So that I immediately sent an email saying, "We got to change this name." And I was surprised at how the lack of urgency happened. Like 40 days later and a zillion emails later, the name was changed.
It seemed like from the public that it wasn't just a length of time, but there was a real digging in and hunkering down and just a complete unwillingness and stubbornness around any discussions of the name after that decision was made.
Right. And the reason that I'm sitting here is that as a trustee, I am obligated in my role of trustee to explain decisions of the board to the public. I don't have to agree with it, but I must be able to explain it. But I can't explain it. I have no idea. And so I'm asking the community, I'm asking you, how did this happen? I don't understand. When the radio's making fun of the kids or the name or whatever, and I certainly saw some of the graphic art that was circulated on Facebook.
Sorry.
Anyway, like, how can you not take it seriously? So this is why I'm here. I'm here asking questions of the community because I have sent countless emails to trustees asking for their assistance in understanding this decision so that I can fulfill my role of trustee, being able to explain to a community or a voter the decision. And I have received zero response. So I'm here. Is there somebody in the community that can explain how EMA was acceptable? Was it vetted? I understand that Lake Erie Migration Academy was vetted. As soon as you take the lake off, Urban Dictionary comes into play. It could not have been vetted properly. There's no way it could have. I have asked to see the vetting documents, and I also haven't received those yet either.
I did send an email to the trustees after this naming decision was made and wanted to bring up anti-bullying policy. Right? There's an enormous push in our society to eliminate bullying. It's something that does not need to exist. When the name was discovered to have had, an unfortunate acronym and had connotations of possible bullying. In fact, let's not just call it possible, definite, because as you said, media and the public.
I'm not sure Eat My Dick School is going to be better.
I'm getting there.
I was going to say eat my duck.
Well, it's our show. We can do it. Okay. That's scary. So as a parent with teenagers, no one did respond to my email. And I understand. I'm sure you were flooded with communication out the wazoo. I'm not the only one that brought this up through the process. There were, I believe, trustees that brought up this point as well as other citizens, speakers at meetings as well. Is there, in your wonderful guide to good governance, and this is from 2018 to 2022, so, it's slightly out of date. However, I'm sure that these sections about when instances like this occur, what your obligations are?
Good point. In here is several references on how we bring the concerns of the public to the board, to administration, etc. That's our role in good governance. And this one in particular really speaks a lot. It's called Standard Care for Students. The school board and its employees or volunteers are expected to provide the same standard of care for students as would be provided by a reasonably careful or prudent parent in the circumstances. This is commonly referred to as the reasonably prudent parent doctrine. The duty of care is to protect the student from all reasonably foreseeable risks of harm. So my question is, this good governance manual here is filled with that, but that kind of sums it all up. So my question is, how is it that this name has stood when this is our doctrine? That's why I'm here. How is it that nobody's answering the question from the board side? So I'm asking the public. What do you think? I don't see how it can stand.
Was it ever brought up? Was anyone,
I have tried.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like outside of your own prompting, no one discussed the issue that it may be in contradictory or in violation of the governance. Not one.
There are 3 of us who voted against it and 7 who voted for it. So the answer to that is
sure. Hey, say no more. Say no more.
Yeah.
After that meeting happened and the name was approved and the backlash, like you said, it took a long time. Did the trustees discuss that at all, or were there meetings that happened to discuss the fact that the community was
ready to riot?
Yeah, pitchforks were out. Literally, there were protests lying in the streets.
And I attended the second one at the high school that I thought all trustees should have been there because we had a problem with a decision. Why was I the only one there? The student trustee was there as well. But why was I the only one there? I was there to ask Emerson, who had said on the radio or the TV or whatever you call it today, media, that she was concerned about bullying. I wanted to ask her, what are your concerns? Why wasn't every trustee there? But I was criticized for attending because it looked like I supported the protest. I was there to find out because I don't like hearsay. I wanted to hear from Emerson one-on-one what she thought. Now, I certainly got a feel for what was going on personally rather than hearsay and seeing it on the news.
Did the board meet after that in a not public meeting and to discuss it?
In the private session meetings, I tried on numerous occasions to bring something up. I came with this document. I was shut down. Again, my lack of comfort and knowledge of Robert's rules worked against me. I don't know that it would have done any good because it was 7-3, but several meetings I came with a document. I came to find out that
I can back this up.
It was, sorry?
I can back this up.
That Kinsey Kendrick, who was a student of mine, and I taught her brother, etc. Lovely kid. Anyway, came to find out that she was being described as not being kind, and I thought, no, that can't be right because there's nobody lovelier than Kinsey. So I asked her to please tell me if I had stood at the door of the library of the committee meetings. Please describe to me what I would have seen. And so she told me I was prepared to say during the private session meeting what she told me. And I was shut down saying, well, that's hearsay. We can't listen to it. And I thought, okay, then. So I asked Kinsey to write me this letter, but it was the next meeting. It was 2 weeks later before I could put it out or whatever. Anyway, I ended up sending it to them to show that when I read it, you'll see that some unfairness was happening, some unkindness was happening, but it was shut down again. Anyway, so what she wrote was, Dear Nancy, it has come to my attention that during the naming committee meeting, I have been portrayed as a bully to the other students, which is disheartening to hear. In a message written to former Mayor of Kingsville, Nelson Santos, Trustee Burgess inaccurately described the treatment of students during the naming committee. She wrote, and I quote, think of the kids from Colchester who were made to sit alone at a table at the meeting and not invited to be at the table with all the other students until it was intentionally addressed to be more welcoming. This is completely untrue and truly saddening to hear how I and other Kingsville students' actions are described by one of our trustees. So I have made it very clear that this is unkind to Kinsey, and she needs the record cleared.
Yeah, there needs an apology, Steve.
Okay, so that my daughter was on the naming committee too, and she heard about this quote and said no. And Kalila described, she said, we invited those girls to sit with us. We invited them right away. We asked them if they wanted to have any input, what input they had, what ideas they had. And she said they just sat there quietly. They didn't engage. And she said to be labeled as bullies as we were, and Kalila she's a smart kid, and she's very socially justice aware, but she's also willing to let some things go. And this is one thing she hasn't. She's
So it's not just Kinsey who is owed an apology. And not that it's going to change anything, except that it's the right thing to do, is to, if you have made a mistake, then you own up to it.
Also,
but what's
I think it's
interesting,
important.
this is hearsay. Whatever information Julia was given is hearsay.
Well, and
did she follow up? Did she turn around? Sorry, I'm ranting now. But did she?
He's getting red.
Did she? Yeah, I am. Did she turn around and go to the Kingsville kids and say, "Look, I've been given this information"? No, she went with hearsay. Whoa, jeez.
Also, it's not court.
Yeah.
Public school board private session meetings do not have the same levels of requirements as a court, the provincial court. Hearsay is not a thing in Robert's rules. Yeah. You can say things that you are told. It's especially in private session.
Wasn't that what you're supposed to do with a trustee? Is tell them your concerns so that they relay them?
It's literally the job. Hearsay is the job qualification.
Oh, yeah.
Well, so I don't know if any of the trustees read this, but it has done zero good. That Kinsey took all this time to write this for me. I presented it to them as best I could, and I don't know if it's been read, but this is the hill I'm ready to die on, in that Kinsey does not deserve this.
Well, and then she presented to the board, right? She spoke at one of the meetings.
Yes. Yeah, Kinsey did.
Yes. And
I was there.
Yeah.
Right. So that there's so much. So and we only have to talk about it. You lived it. So you have that meeting, or those meetings where you're trying to bring it up. Finally, something changed where something where there had been enough fire lit, I guess, to realize that that the name needed to change, and then they decided, well, we'll change it in the most least way possible. The most least. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're such a linguist.
But what do you know what the deciding factor was that prompted them to even consider changing academy to district school?
Well, I can only guess. So the meeting was on Tuesday, whatever meeting we had on Tuesday, I don't even remember. But so that was Tuesday before Good Friday. On the Thursday, I thought, you know what? I need to ask for a motion to have the 400 school renaming forms be considered, because I don't even know what happens to them. No one has answered my question. What happens to them? Because it's not in the policy. It's a trustee policy, the school renaming request form. But what happens to them after the forms are collected, and how many do you need to have it considered? So anyway, I asked in a motion. I wrote the motion incorrectly because I'm green. I asked, if this is not correct, please help me, because I want to learn how to do it better. But I didn't realize that Good Friday was Friday and this was Thursday. If I had wanted a motion in there, I had to have it into the board on Wednesday. I'm no longer a teacher. I don't know what day of the week it is, right? As a teacher, you always know when it's Good Friday. Anyway, so I was too late for that. And so I just replied, okay, I'll put it on the floor on Tuesday at the meeting or whatever. So then on the Saturday of the long weekend, the 4-day weekend, we get a notice that there's a special meeting and they're going to change the name or something. So did my failed attempt at putting forward a motion to have the pages looked at do anything? I don't know. I can only guess. I did ask. Did that prompt the change? But I have not received a reply.
Just me thinking out loud, I don't know, but I would assume the board has a document retention policy, and any documents that would be filled out at a meeting that is offshoot of a board, like it's a committee that's a board committee, would fall under a document retention policy that the board would have to have as part of a provincial cybersecurity guidelines. So there are, and maybe we should look it up. I mean, there must be specific guidelines laid out for what happens to documents that are collected.
I would agree, but were they followed?
Well, that's
because as we've discussed already, there's been somewhat of a circumvention of, policy, procedure, just general, the right thing to do.
Well, I don't know where they sit. I don't know who's got them, because the student trustee handed them in, and I saw him do that, but I don't know what has happened to them.
Correct. At the meeting in between these two meetings.
So the question has to be, how many is enough? Is 400 not enough? Is it 500? How many names on a petition from a community is enough for trustees to go, oh, maybe we should look into that, because in this good governance, our job is to listen to the public. Because I was speaking to someone who had spoken to a trustee friend from a different board, and they said, whoa, if we got one complaint, we'd look into it. And I thought, well, there was 1,000 names on the signature now, and or on the petition. Now I think there are over 2,000 on the next petition. How many is enough? So it's a question I have asked the policy committee to please look into when they revise the policy in the fall. You need to determine a number, and we need to know what that number is.
Nancy, in your 2 years on the as a trustee, how many times has the Ontario Ombudsman been, beckoned to review and or analyze anything with the school board?
Well, this is our second. This one is their second. The first was when they closed the meetings to the public a year ago, and this is number 2. And I guess they had 300 complaints. And what interests me is that alone, the ombudsman said nothing illegal was done. Okay, fine. If everything was the letter of the law, that's fine. But there's still a problem if you have 300 people taking the time out to do something. What is the, there's a saying that if...
Yeah, it's the rule of 11.
Okay, what's the rule of 11?
So if you have a bad customer experience, you will tell 11 people about that bad experience.
Okay, so you had 300 people taking the time to fill out this ombudsman form. That's a lot of dissatisfied people. And our job, can I read from here? Our job is to bring the community feedback to the board. That's our trustee job. So,
being the trustee from Leamington, Pelee Island, have you been contacted about other issues outside of this that were presented to the board about that town, school, area? What?
No,
nothing.
But that's another point. Pelee Island kids will go to the new school.
Correct.
You'd think that the trustee representing the kids should have been part of any discussion about the name for the new schools, but no, I was not asked.
It's been noted publicly by a member of the board that they don't just represent the area they're from. They represent
everything. Everyone. Yeah.
I want to know, other than Nancy, who really represents us? Because if you look at the numbers and the voices and the fact that no emails, your email wasn't returned by any of them. They're elected by the public to represent, 6 other trustees? Because that's how it seems to me. They're not owning up to anything. They're not turning around and saying, okay, at the very least, I have read your letter. Thank you for your concerns.
I would like to make a statement. I do think I did receive an automated response from Chair Hatfield, but it wasn't in recognition of any of the content. It was received and that was it, but it appeared like an automated recognition. Again, not anything personal, no data.
Sure.
Just
okay. So then that leads me to my question. At the end of the day, the board as a whole is painted at the same brush. Right, you're a member of the board. Again, you're not here as a member of the board, but you are a member of the board. What has this done for you on a personal level, as far as just people who know you're associated with the board, that you're a member? Has it impacted your personal life in any way, or is it still business as usual?
Wherever I go, I meet someone who, I've seen you on TV, or what about that Kingsville name, or whatever. It's wherever I go. It doesn't matter if it's Windsor, Devonshire Mall. If I see someone I know, they have a comment, and it's never a nice comment. So I don't know if they've watched the videos. They know that I'm not in favor of this name.
It's like anything. You're a member of a team, and one team member, is out of line in some. Then the team itself gets painted with the same brush.
Yes.
And having retired from the school board and been former faculty, if you hadn't retired, you potentially would be teaching at this new school.
Yes.
And we've heard from personal comments and discussions with current faculty about their displeasure because of the situation that this Board of Education decision has made and put them into a position.
And that's why I'm here. I don't get it. The potential for bullying is high. And, or maybe not, because I have yet to talk to one kid or family with kids who are going to that school who will ever put that acronym or name on their spiritware. Because what was it called? I can't remember. The prudent parent. Okay,
yes,
so
prudent parent.
Trustees are supposed to be prudent parents. There's no way any parent is going to put a sexual acronym on the butt of the kids. And when my kids were in high school, the acronym for LDSS was on their butt. There's no way a prudent parent is going to do that. So how is this happening? I don't understand. So maybe the kids will be fine because they're never going to put that on their uniforms. And they shouldn't, because that's so vulgar.
Well, did they vet the new name? Like, did they realize that it also is an acronym before it was brought forward?
Oh, they knew. They knew because of all the emails we received, because on the Saturday before the meeting, the emails started coming in again. They absolutely knew. And it was named at the meeting that it was vetted. There was discussion that it wasn't vetted, but it passed all the tests. So I have asked the board, please, I would like the documentation to see what tests it passed. And I have not received that.
It seems that every end of this, it's clouded in either obscured fact or redacted information or non-disclosed or.
And at the end of the day, it just seems like there are loopholes and ways to justify and get around. You don't have to answer to the public. You don't have to respond to the questions, because in our policies and documents, we're allowed to do exactly everything we have done.
Except that if this is our guide, then how do we get this guide to be followed? Now, I did receive from, and maybe this is good news, I don't know, first of all, Stephen Lecce, February 29th. So
when he was the Minister of Education.
Yeah, he said, we need to build public trust in school board trustees to represent the values and priorities of their electorate, not of their own personal preferences. So this was something in the Toronto Star on February 29th. Received just today, July 30th, that's yesterday, that there's going to be a mandatory integrity commissioner assigned, or boards will hire them, but from a list of people who meet the criteria, and it's supposed to start next January. So will this be part of it next January? I don't know, but that I would think if we have an integrity commissioner looking into this, surely something will come forward that it's not, as you said, there's something not quite right. There's something being hidden.
Yeah, the concerns of the entire public, community and, and attending school, student population and the faculty, right? Faculty can't speak out. That's their employer.
They have been told to keep their mouth shut.
Correct.
I also was told to keep my mouth shut or resign, and then I can say whatever I want. So I do have a story, and there's a moral to this story. Lifetimes ago, I worked for a food company before I became a teacher, and I discovered that one of the food ingredients, because my role was ingredients, was not approved for use in food. So I went to my boss's boss's boss and said, we have a problem. And I was told to keep my mouth shut. Well, I was 24 and I kept my mouth shut. So that meant that if you had bought that food product lifetimes ago, you were eating something that wasn't approved for use in food. Nobody died. It was not a big deal at all. It was probably just it was an oversight. All I had to do was call the company. They could stamp it. It was no big deal. But the response was the big deal. Keep your mouth shut. And my response was, I did. So so the first lesson here is don't trust the big corporations. Buy local, buy, the local canneries, etc., because they're going to do better for you. But I really believe I lost a little bit of myself that day when I was 24 because I kept my mouth shut. No one is going to tell me that words on a piece of paper are going to have me compromise integrity or this thing that we're supposed to follow. No, it's not going to happen. There is something bankrupt with this whole system, and hopefully this integrity commissioner can find out what it is and take action to correct it.
If it was an election year, would you be running?
No, I'm never doing this again, ever. This has been the most negative experience of my life. So I'm not doing it.
Terrible.
Again. But the whole thing is you got to get good people in there. So it's somebody else's turn. Somebody else's turn. Anyway. And it's really sad because 6 months ago I would have said, well, maybe, but not now. And so, you know, if you can't, so again, I'm here asking questions. Why is this happening? So I thought, okay, did the sexual acronym, it was missed once. Did they screw up and miss it again? Well, no, they knew about it again. They'd already admitted it. They knew about it again, but they chose to ignore that. I don't understand why. I just don't understand why. Because I was talking to Andrew Dowie, is that his name?
Yes,
MPP. He said that there was a local school in the French board that named a school 3 times till they got it right. So the precedent has been set. We can name it again. Just we need the people to agree to do it. So that's one theory of mine. So if anybody in your audience has another theory than the 3 that I'm going to put forward, please let me know because there's holes in my theories. The number one is it was just a mistake and it's not being corrected. The second is Carl Jung. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Jung.
He said that if you don't understand a decision, look to the consequences of that decision to infer the motivation. So the consequences of the decision is a sexual acronym twice. So is that really what happened? And that's why are you laughing? Because anyway, I don't think that's it. I really don't, but prove to me that it's not. Yeah. So, and then the third one was there money involved? Well, I can't see that there's money involved, but it scares me if this goes on here. If there was $1 million at the provincial level or the federal level, you can see how things get skewed or not handled ethically or however you want to put it. Anyway, so those are my 3 theories of how this has happened. So please, your listeners, give me your opinion because I can't do my job as trustee until I understand this decision and nobody's helping me. So
has anyone ever said why Erie migration is so important?
No.
Actually, Julia did in her diatribe when she introduced it to the committee.
Okay. But beyond that.
No.
No one from the board has ever said.
No. Now, if I'm remembering correctly, the girls said that Scott Scandalbury wanted Erie or tried to manipulate them into wanting Erie, and the kids didn't want Erie. They didn't want migration and they didn't want Erie. And they asked, again, this is listening to what Trustee Burgess had said twice on YouTube video, that the kids asked for the acronym to be truly considered. They didn't want a crazy one. Well, we didn't give them the crazy. We gave them a sexual one instead. Go us. Yeah.
So you had the meeting and Erie Migration District School was the outcome of that meeting. And then it came back to what might be, and I watched it on video when it was happening. I wasn't there. But in my 20 years of watching public meetings, might be one of the craziest meetings I think that I've ever witnessed. Watching the way that just the condescension of people, like just watching, it was just brutal.
You mean the 10-minute meeting that I walked out after?
I believe that's correct.
Yes.
Yeah. I was angry, yes, but I just couldn't stay there. Like I was feeling claustrophobic. I couldn't believe they wouldn't let me say anything. Like, so I just thought, I'm out of here. So, have you had
any? And we know what the outcome of that was. It was a lot of wishy-washy stuff that the ombudsman has come forward and said that it did follow the board's procedural bylaw. So has there been any discussion around the process and the handling of that meeting?
No, really. I have said something, but it's not been discussed. It's just that's the way it was. And anyway,
how do you go about continuing to do the business of the board after being treated like that?
Well, the next 2 years is not going to be any fun, I'm sure, and I'm looking forward to it being over. So I don't know, because it's 7-3, and I mentioned that at a meeting. I said, so this is the way it is. It's 7-3. How can we do anything? And I don't know how we continue, because I am seriously disliked, and it's kind of weird. I'm a likable person. Anyway.
Have you had any private conversations with any of the 7 to try and get any answers?
Yes. One of them I really
without
like.
Details, obviously, but
one of them I really like. I think she's lovely, and I'm going to call her when I'm done here and say, okay, you might want to look at this on Saturday. Anyway, I just don't know why it's 7-3. I really don't. But I don't know what you're asking for. But there is one of the 7 who is really, really nice.
Well, that's the other 6 aren't. But
I didn't mean that.
No. That's why that's why I'm saying, not to say the other 6 aren't. I get what you're saying. So when you say 7-3, is this sort of a regular voting block then, beyond just what's happened with the Kingsville naming?
Well, it certainly seems to be for what just happened to a trustee with the code of conduct complaint. But what was really interesting, again, I don't understand it. The board unanimously, except the chair didn't vote, but otherwise unanimously voted to pass a deficit budget because they didn't want to see any layoffs. And so, again, I don't understand it. They would do that, pass a deficit budget, but then do this to Kingsville. They care about kids so much that it's difficult. How do you go forward when you don't have enough money? They really, really care about the kids for that. And up until February, I thought they really, really cared about everybody, but they don't seem to care enough about this, because this decision cannot be explained. Because as you said, there's something going on that we are not privy to. And what is it? I'm asking, does anybody know?
Well, and I'll ask it because I've heard people make accusations against members of the board that there's been backroom deals made. And I don't want to put you in a position where you're making claims that you don't know, but do you have you heard of any such backroom deals that have taken place?
No. And I do know, as I already said, I realized a year ago that a lot of deals in politics are made outside of what people would see by telephone. So there's no meeting to investigate or anything like that, because it's all done by phone. And I have received those phone calls as well. So, okay, if that's the way it is, I was told if I really want to make a difference as a trustee with this board, I'm going to have to get to know the trustees, take them out for lunch, take them out for coffee, whatever. And I thought, I'm not doing that. I can't do that. I would compromise my integrity if I did that, and I refuse to do it. So I am limited in my effectiveness because I will not play that game, but it's a serious game that goes on apparently.
Well, beyond the ignoring of the sort of names put forward by the committee, I think the biggest question mark was simply the lack of debate around the table. Nobody questioned, I don't think those that voted for it, nobody questioned it. They didn't need any convincing. It was obvious they'd already been convinced. My words.
Or the explanation that was given to them was satisfactory to make the decision that they did.
Sure, but usually you get 1, 2, 3 raising concerns beyond just those that voted against it, right?
But I'll go back to my statement from a few episodes ago when I got really upset. And when the community outreach and the displeasure with this process came, no one changed their opinion. There wasn't the reconsideration. It was turned down abruptly. Like, there was no real consideration of, oh, crap.
Yeah, you
we
couldn't
made a
sway
mistake.
one. You couldn't sway one. It was like, no, we're locked in.
Right.
And that's what I don't understand. That's what I don't
that.
understand, because this is our guidance. And that fails so many times with what's in this book that I don't understand how it's proceeding. I really don't. So again, I hope the Integrity Commissioner can do something about it, because, and if not, then I'm been wrong all along and everything's just fine. So anyway.
Through all of this, we haven't really touched on the students. And obviously they're, like you said, I mean, there's been, there were hundreds of name suggestions that came back. There's been protests. Have you heard from students, or do you have any concerns about the students who are going to be going into the new school?
I have a student who works for me in my small business that I run, and she is the most happiest kid ever. And after the final name was decided, I asked her, I said, what do you think of the name? Well, her demeanor totally changed to one of sadness. She said, the new acronym's even more vulgar. This school is stupid. And I thought, whoa, okay, great. So I am concerned for the excitement that the kids should have had. It's not going to be there. Or it may not be there. Maybe for some they can. Kids are resilient, but they shouldn't have to put up with this. But I am concerned about mental health, because we received an email from a local Kingsville group who said that for the first time in 30 years, that the issue of declining mental health in students was raised. Plus, it's been in the Toronto news that 4 school boards or more, maybe now, are suing social media giants for the addictive nature of what they offer to students. And there's also documentation that I have available that post-pandemic mental health is not as good as it was before. Students have not recovered from that. So our kids have 3 of those going on, and then they have this name. So again, how do we do this when we're supposed to do no harm? I don't get it. I don't understand.
Well, in school, the students are just attending a school they have to attend, and school board trustees decided to give it a sexual acronym that will likely become a point of bullying against those students.
100%. It is 100%. And I have brought that up as well. I have sent that in emails that this is of concern, but so did Emerson. That's why I went to that protest. She already said it. And so why are you not listening to a student?
Especially when it's outlined in wonderful books that you're supposed to use as the foundation of what your operating procedure is.
Yeah.
So we do have, along with the name, now we have a mascot. So Steve, do you want to, I guess it's not really unveiling because it's already happened.
They have chosen coyotes. The secondary portion of the school will have a different logo to that of the elementary. But it was noted on social media that part of the reason some of the kids chose the name Coyotes was that so Trustee Burgess's comment about the community howling would live on forever. So there's a legacy touch to that. And then as far as construction, I don't know if Nancy know anything about this, but a memo did go out this week stating to elementary teachers that the elementary portion of the school was a little bit behind and the secondary school was further behind. I don't know if that's...
Ouch. I have not heard that.
Okay.
No.
Guess what? Get those portables ready.
Have you heard anything about capacity at all?
No.
Nothing
Sorry.
yet.
No. I know nothing because I'm not the trustee for this area, so I have not been privy to any conversations.
Aren't you though?
Well,
aren't you though?
You represent us all,
right?
I guess.
Yeah, and then also, has there been any discussion about when the schools would be placed for sale? Right, they're deemed surplus and sold off.
Not that I am aware of. I do want to put a plug in for the most amazing superintendent that we have, who's in charge of that, and that's Shelley Armstrong. She
Any
is
relation?
Yeah, I was just gonna
no,
say.
no relation.
We're all going to ask the same question.
No relation. But honestly, we need to be very thankful that she is working for us. So she would answer that question. She is thorough and honest, and integrity is her middle name. Like, she's amazing. So you'd have to ask her that question, because I'd have to go out and ask her that. It hasn't come up, but there's so many great people who work at the board office. So many, just like there's so many great teachers. So I do want to put that plug in for the board. We do have a lot of good people.
Unfortunately, the conduct of certain individuals have cast a bit of a gray cloud over the town of Kingsville and community.
But yeah, the public confidence and trust in our board, like, it's gone.
At the end of the day, like, everyone around that table could be wonderful person. It's this decision-making process that has left us all discussing it like we do.
It's the process, but I kind of disagree with you a little bit.
I said they could be.
Because you are, as a trustee, you are the decisions you make. And you can be a fantastic person, but your conduct as a trustee is outlined in the decisions that you make as a trustee. Doesn't matter how nice you are about it. It's the decisions that you made. So I agree with the sentiment, but I mean, if you've decided to vote against something that clearly was pushed by the majority of a town, you can never say entire, but majority of a town, then you voted against those people. No matter how nice you are and smile, like, it's like any elected official. You are the decisions you make, right?
Yeah, and the fact that not listening to the outcry and continuing to push and grind against the grain.
You are those decisions.
It's like digging a hole. Just keep digging.
Just keep digging. So the students will be going in. Have you heard, is there any plans to do any sort of ribbon cutting official?
I have not heard, because it would not be me who would be there.
Even though PLA Island is
Apparently that doesn't matter. I don't know. I don't understand that, really.
Well, why? Because we don't have a dock that isn't dredged, so the boat can't get here anyway.
Oh, okay.
I'm kidding.
No, I don't know. I have heard nothing. But it is summer, so maybe something will be coming. But I did not know that the school was not going to be ready, and
no, I didn't say that.
Okay, it's not done. It's not done.
I said it's behind.
It's behind.
According to an email that was sent out, it is behind.
Okay, so as a teacher, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, those poor teachers. When do they get to go in and set up?
Well, a lot of them got to figure out how to work together now, right? They're all sharing the same spaces. They're all sharing, new colleagues.
Yeah.
Right? Elementary school, combining of two schools and whatnot. So there's a lot of new figuring.
Yeah.
A lot of new territory.
Yeah. And it'll probably have some rough spots, but teachers are awesome people and they'll figure it out.
Most of them.
Yeah.
Yes. Most of them. Okay. Most of them. I didn't pass grade OAC parenting for a reason, okay? And between that teacher and me, I'm a good parent.
Because the sugar leaked.
It's sugar leaked. Just so happened to make my coffee. Anyway, wrap it up.
We talked a lot about a lot of things. Did we miss anything? Is there anything else you want to add or anything you want to say that we didn't give you the opportunity to say?
May I close on a positive note?
Yeah, of course.
I have a quote from a staff member of your town, the school. What this teacher wrote was, the board should be feeling this. Wow. We contributed to a school culture where people feel such emotion and such loyalty to their school that they'll fight this hard. What an incredible accomplishment by our board and our teachers that a community feels this passionately about their public school. Let's embrace this. Then let's interview them to see how they achieved this so we can replicate it. Okay. Well done, Kingsville.
Absolutely.
Go Kingsville.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
and then 7 other trustees can ignore it.
Yeah.
Not listen at all. And then they wonder why the
do whatever they want.
Public is upset.
Well, Nancy, lots to go through. I'm sure this story is not over. I'm sure, there's going to be some sort of outcome for coming and discuss with us. I'm sure that there's going to be counterpoints to everything that we've talked about tonight, but we appreciate you coming on the show and talking with us and being heard. So,
well, thank you. Because I've not been allowed to speak anything at the board meetings, etc., I can sleep better now because I've at least managed to say what I wanted to say, but I was always silenced in one way or another. So I thank you, because one reason why I'm here is to get it off my chest, I guess.
Yeah. There we are.
Yeah.
Thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you.